Hello everyone, welcome back to another video. So we will revise a few formulas here and functions of Excel. Okay, so I've prepared an Excel here to do some calculations, and I've prepared another file for us to work on vertical lookup function. All right, so this file is going to be the table array for us, and we're going to work on the other file. All right, now names of the students are given, and I've took 3 test marks. We're going to find the total average and display if it is pass or fail, and then we'll have to find the grade. Okay, so to find the total of the 3 test mark, it's the function we use is sum, the 3 test mark for this student. Enter, and then you will replicate down. Whereas the average of the 3 test mark, the function is average, and then highlight the test marks, the range. Okay. Okay, now say for example, we want to find the largest number, okay, to find the highest score of this. So in such case, to find the highest score or to find the largest number, the function we use is maximum, and highlight the range from where you want to find the largest number. So it will display the largest number. If you want to find the smallest number or the least score, so it is min. The function we use is min, and highlight the range. So it will show us the smallest number. Okay, so to find the largest number is max. To find the smallest number, the function we use is min. Okay, and then now if you want to round a value, now say for example, these are in decimal places. So if you want to round down, so you add the function round down, and then goes the formula with the range, and then comma, the number of digits, that is the places, how many places you want it to be rounded down to. Now say for example, we round it down to 1 decimal place, enter, and when we replicate down, there it is rounded down. Okay, now if you're making it 0, and when you replicate it down, it will round down to 0 decimal place. So what round down does is, it will round a number to a certain number of decimal place, what we mentioned here, and it will always round down to the nearest the next valid increment, that is round down. Now same happens here with round up. Now say for example, we want the value to be rounded up, then goes the values and then the places. Okay, enter. Now if you see, it's 83, 54, all that. When we replicate down, it will round up 1 decimal place. Okay, it will round up, whereas the previous one was round down, so it will round it to the next valid increment. Here it will round up to the next valid increment. Okay, now to find if the function if the value is, if the student has pass or fail. Okay, now say for example, the average mark is 50% to pass. So it is a condition, you're checking if the average is 50 or greater than 50. Okay, so whenever you have a condition to be checked, the function we use is if. If the logical test average, we are looking for average, we are checking the average. If average here for this student is an F2, if it is greater than or equal to 50, so that will be your logical test, comma. If this condition is true, then the term displayed will be pass. So that has to be within double quotations, comma. If the condition is false, that is if F2 is not greater than 50, that is if F2 is less than 50, then it has to display the text fail. So that again goes within double quotations. Close the bracket, enter, you get the answer then. And then replicate, there you have the answer. Okay, now to find the grade. Okay, this is just one if statement. To find the grade, now let's take this as the grade range. All right, so there are more than one condition to be checked. All right, so in such cases, we will have nested if. Okay, I'll show you in the function, so it's more easier. Get the if function, and then logical test, we are going to see the average. Okay, if F2, the first condition is greater than 90. If it is greater than, if it is greater than 89, okay, if it is greater than 89, then if this condition is true, it has to display the grade A. If this condition is false, it has to check the next condition. So to get the next if statement, you place the cursor in the false value if false and move the cursor to the name box here. And click once, you get a new logical test. Okay, now again check if average. The next condition is greater than 79. If this is true, then it is B. If it is false, get a new if statement again. F2 greater than 69. It is C grade. If it is false, get a new if statement. Again, F2 greater than 59. The condition here is K6D. If it is false, next statement, next condition, F2 greater than 49. If this is true, the value if true is going to be K7. If this is false, you don't have any more condition, just one is left. So when one is left, that becomes the false statement. Okay, if all of these are false, then it is understood the one left will be the answer. Click OK. There you have the answer to be, the grade to be F, because it falls under the last condition. Okay, and then drag down the formula. This 51. Okay, let me check. Oh, okay. Oh, okay. Can't replicate down. Okay, this is a different table. So you need to make sure it is made absolute. Okay, I'll talk about the absolute values here. So you can't replicate down here because it is a different table. This is a different table from where you are picking the values. Okay, so let me talk about the absolute values over here, how to set the absolute values. Okay, now let's move on to VLOOKUP, vertical lookup. All right, here there is a file which I've created which has code, values and name, whereas here we have code. We need to find the name for that code and the value for that code using this table. All right, now let's use VLOOKUP. Okay, equal VLOOKUP. The first one is the lookup value. Lookup value is the column which is repeating on both the tables. you have code here, and on the other file also you have code. So that will be your lookup value. Now you need to know which code to set as the lookup value. You have your code here, and your formula is supposed to be in this file, file 2. Okay, your formula is placed in file 2. So wherever you are doing your formula, from that code will be the lookup value. A13, comma, table array. Table array, as I told you, this will be a table array. And remember, when you're highlighting the table array, it has to be only the records. You do not highlight the table field names. All right. And then comma, the next we need to know is the column index number. Column index number is what you are looking up for from the other file. We are finding name. Name in this file, file 1, is in the third column, column C. So you count 1, 2, 3. So your index number is going to be 3, and range lookup is false because we want the exact match of the answer. Okay, there you have. So code A is going to be Jeremiah. Now let's do values. So again, the same step, we look up value. I told you the values which are being repeated on both the files. You cannot take Jeremiah. Now here you have the values here for the name, but you cannot take that as your lookup value because here it is going to be the formula at the back end. It is not just the values. Okay, so you cannot take the formulas which has the values which has formulas at the back. All right, now here I told you the values that is being repeated on both the files will be your lookup value. So code is being repeated, A13. Table array is the other file, all the records. And then you're looking up for column index number is you're looking up for values. Values on the other file is in column B. So it is a second column. So index number is going to be 2 and range lookup is false. There you have the value displayed. 12 is 12. Okay. Okay. Now let me show you something. I've done the same content from the other file and placed it in this file too, where your formula is going to be. Okay. So in such cases, if you are looking up for the values from the same file, okay, so we look up and then lookup value for this record is going to be code again because code is being repeated. So A14, comma, table array. Let's use this. Okay, let's use this table array, comma. You're looking up for the name. Name here is in the third column. You don't start counting from column A because your table, this table starts from column I. So column I is going to be 1, J is 2, K is 3. So index number is going to be 3 and range lookup is going to be false. Now we are not done with the formula. Because this table is on the same file where your formula is, the range what you highlighted must be made absolute. Okay, it has to be made absolute. In order to make absolute, you will highlight the range and press function for keyboard, function for key on the keyboard. So it gets dollar signs in between. Okay. This is basically when you are supposed to replicate the formula. Okay, when you are replicating the formula, you will have to make it absolute if it is from the same file, different table. There you have the answer there. Okay, now let's say you are asked to create a range. If they ask you to create a range, highlight the range, right click, define name. Okay, if they ask you to create a range and the name of the range is given, highlight the range, right click, define name and type in the name of the range. Now say for example the name given is student. Click OK. Now what happens is every time we click on the cell, each cell, the name box here, it shows the cell reference of that particular cell. Now, when we highlight this range, here it shows the name of the range that we created just now. All right. So if they ask you to look up using the range, we look up again, all this is going to be the same, comma. Now when you highlight the range here, you see you will get the name of the range, comma. Column index number, you're looking up for value. Value is in column 2, and then false. Okay, now here, this, when you're using a named range, you don't have to make it absolute. Okay, only when you are working on values, okay, the cell address, then you will have to make it absolute. Enter, you get the answer. Okay, so that's how it works here for making it absolute. Okay, now next is to, let me replicate the function here. Okay. Now let me show you how to do conditional formatting. Now say for example, we want the cell to be highlighted. If the text is fail, we will set the cell to be highlighted in red color with white font. Okay, so you highlight the cells which you want to do the formatting, and then you go to conditional formatting, highlight cells rules, and here it is text. So you choose text that contains and format the cell that contains the text. What is the text you are trying to format? Here I set it to be fail. Okay, type the text and change the formatting here to custom format. Under custom format, you choose the color required. That is, I set it to be white, the font color, and I want the cell to be filled with red color. Okay, if they ask you to give the screenshot, this is what you will have to provide. Click OK. OK again. There you have. Okay. Again, if you want a different color for the pass text, again highlight cells rules, text that contain, pass, change the formatting. Let's fill it with, for example, green, and font color, let's set it to be black. Click OK. Okay, so there you have. So all the pass will have green and black, fail will have red and white. Okay, now if they ask you to, say for example, if they are asking you to highlight the cells that have less than 50, the average less than 50, so highlight the range, conditional formatting, highlight cells rules, and then choose the condition here. The condition here is less than, right? So choose less than, and then type in the number less than 50, and then choose the color. Whatever the color is mentioned, you will choose here. Click OK. So only this is less than 50. So that will be highlighted. Okay, so that's about conditional formatting. Okay, now let's move on to count. All right, for this I've took an old paper. Okay, this I have done already in a different video. So I'm just showing you to discuss about the count function. Okay, now here they have asked us to place in cell B3 a formula to count the total number of sightings. So here the total number of sightings is mentioned here from row 35. Okay, so here they're asking us to count the total number of sightings. So when they ask you to count, it is count A. Okay, it is count A, and then highlight the range, any range from 35. row 35. Okay, any column from 35. So I set it to be B35 to B75. So what happens here is count A, it will count everything like numbers, dates, text, or a mixture of these items, but it does not count the blank cells. Okay, and gives you the answer. Now, when you're using count, okay, when you're using count as the range, you still have a function called count. If you're using count as a function, what happens here is it will count the number of cells in the range that contains numbers or dates. Only the numbers and dates it count, and also of course it excludes the blank cell. Whereas count A, what it does is it will count the cells that has numbers, dates, texts, or a mixture of all these items. It will count, and of course exclude the blank cells. Okay, that's the difference between count and count A. Now, moving on to the next, place in cell B4 a formula to count the total number of sightings. In B4, to count the total number of sightings, but here there is a condition where photograph was taken. So you will have to count with a condition. So in such cases, it's count if. We know to check the condition, it is if. So it is count if. Okay, now you're counting where the photograph was taken. Photograph was taken is here. We have a cell called photographic evidence. So highlight all the records in that range, which is E35 to E75, comma, we are looking for the term yes. Whichever cell has yes, it will count and display the number of records. Okay, that's supposed to be within double quotation. Okay, enter. There you have. So remember, if you're typing in the function, it has to be the text, the criteria has to be within double quotation. Okay, that's countif. Now next, formula to count the total number of sightings. So it is count here, where the condition is photograph was taken and then GPS location was held. So it is more than one condition. Here it was just one condition, so it is count if. Okay, so here it is just equal count if. Whereas here you have more than one condition, so it's going to be count ifs, plural. All right, so here it's going to be count ifs. Okay, now let's do the first criteria. The first criteria is, they are talking here is what? Total number of sightings where photograph was taken. Photograph was taken is again the same, E35 to E75, comma, the criteria. Criteria for this is yes within quotation, double quotations, comma. The next one is the range. The next range is GPS location of the fish. So GPS location of the fish is mentioned in column F. So highlight those range and then comma. The next is criteria 2. The criteria 2 is yes again. And there you have the answer. Okay. All right. Now next, place a replicable formula. When you have the word replicable formula, you remember it has to be made absolute. Okay. So when you have to replicate, remember it has to be made absolute. That is, add dollar signs in between. So in cell B9, place the cursor in cell B9 to display the number of sightings at this reef. Which reef? For this reef. You're finding the answer here for that reef alone, Maracaibo. So for that reef, you will have to find the number of sightings where there are conditions. Photograph was taken and GPS was taken, and this is also a condition. You're only finding for this reef. Okay, so let's start. It's count ifs. We know it is more than one condition, so it is count ifs. you're looking up for the reef first. This is your first condition, this reef. So the names of the reef, we have it here from D35 to D75. That is your first range, comma, the criteria. The criteria for this is gonna be in A9, the reef that is in A9, comma, the second criteria, photograph was taken. Photograph was taken, we have it here in E35 to E75, comma, the criteria for this range is yes, within quotation, double quotations, comma, the next is GPS. GPS, we have it in column F, F35 to F75, comma, the criteria for this is again yes. So that's the end of the formula. But here the question, as we read earlier, it has to be a replicable formula. Okay. Now here you will have to make these ranges absolute because these are coming from a different table. If you notice here, this table ends here. There's a gap in between. So this on top is a different table, at the bottom is a different table. So in our range here, these are coming from a different table. Okay, these criteria are coming from a different table. So you need to make those ranges absolute. Highlight the range of photograph and press function 4 on the keyboard. Again, highlight the range for what was that, GPS, and press function 4 on the keyboard, enter. Okay, now why not this? Because A9 is in the same table. A9 is in the same table. All right, and you might ask, you might wonder, this is also from a different table. These are also from a different table, like the like this number of sightings for this reef, the function we used here. The reason why we don't add absolute is we are not replicating the formula down. Whereas here, after this, we are asked to replicate the formula for other reefs. So when you are asked to replicate the formula, then you have to make the range absolute. So here we don't replicate down. So that is the reason we don't make the range absolute. Okay. So COUNTIF is done. If it is sum with a condition, it is sum if. Okay. I hope that was clear. I think that's about Excel, spreadsheet. So I hope that was helpful. So see you guys in another video. Thank you. Bye-bye.